Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in today. In this video, we're going to take a look at CompuTec ProcessForce's plant maintenance module. This module will initially be released in 3 phases, of which phase 1 is already available. In the initial development phase, we created the framework within which plant maintenance will work, the ability to define all the elements connected with plant maintenance in the system, so maintainable items, inspection points, tasks, and so on and so forth. And we've also got templates for things like maintainable items and maintenance orders, and we've set up the ability to record and aggregate meter readings too. So far, we've got support for corrective or breakdown maintenance and planned or scheduled maintenance, and we have also added support for preventative maintenance as well. And I'll tell you a bit about what's coming up in phases 2 and 3 at the end of this video. Today, our focus will rather be on what features are already available. But as this is an extensive module, I won't be able to show you all the functionalities or usage scenarios in this short video. So please think of this as an introduction. And if you would like further clarifications or explanations, please do get in touch with either your CompuTec partner or us directly via the usual channels. We'll be more than happy to advise you on how our plant maintenance module can accommodate your needs. We designed our plant maintenance module so that it would be able to accommodate a wide range of different types of production, so that it would be equally useful to businesses with very simple setups and those with very complex setups, and that even in those most complex situations, it would still be straightforward to actually use. One of the ways we did this was by creating a really flexible maintainable item structure. The Maintainable Item document is a representation in the system of any item that can undergo any kind of maintenance. So that means all existing unique SAP Business One and CompuTec ProcessForce objects like resources, fixed assets, and items that are managed by serial numbers that have an equipment card. And obviously you can create new objects too. If you don't have too many different machines, if they all work independently of each other, you can just set up each maintainable item with no connection to the others. But if you have multiple production lines with multiple machines that are all dependent on each other, you can actually create a very extensive structure of maintainable items as well. You can do this in a number of ways. First of all, we have 4 types of maintainable items. On the top level, we have location. And you can also define location differently, of course, but for example's sake, let's say that our company has a few production halls, so those would be the locations. And then we have a system, which might be where we define our production lines. And then position, so that might be specific sections of our production lines. So perhaps one position might be for cleaning the raw materials, another for finishing the final goods. And then on the 4th level of the structure, we have the individual assets. And as I said, you don't have to use all these levels, they're purely optional. So what you can see on your screen now, this is what the maintainable item form looks like in CompuTec ProcessForce. And you can see here that our asset is a U conveyor and it's defined as a position. And just here we can see the parent maintainable item, which is the production line. While we're here, let's take a look at some of the other things on this form. On the bottom part of the form, we have more details about the maintainable item. We have a section where you can deactivate the maintainable item if you want for a specific period or periods. And on the right, you can define information about the characteristics of meters associated with this maintainable item. Now, each maintainable item can also have its own structure. So we can break this down further than the 4-level structure we had earlier. One aspect of this concerns effective meters. You have a list of them on this tab here, along with information about the readings. And we can set the system up to use this information to prompt maintenance activities when the meter reading reaches a certain level. Just while we're talking about meters, actually I just mentioned that there's support for both quantitative and qualitative meter readings, and we do have reports which will show you the history of either effective or physical meter readings too. Now, coming back to the maintainable item, each one can have as many inspection points as you would like. Each inspection point can have multiple aspects. The inspection points are a part of the machine or equipment that should be inspected. So if we're talking about a vehicle, an inspection point might be a specific tyre. And in this case, the aspects might be the tread, the tyre pressure, and so on. And then there are aspect points, which are combinations of the point and the aspect. For instance, the tread of the front right tyre of a specific vehicle. If we go back to our conveyor belt, we can look at the inspection points tab. And here we have an inspection point defined as the driving roller. This is our example. And then in the Aspects tab, we have a belt that has to be checked for thickness. This is where we can set up the rules for when a maintenance order should be created and what template should be used depending on the result of the inspection. So we have a nominal value of 3 inches for the thickness of this belt. You can see here that you can define what the absolute minimum belt thickness is under extreme minimum. But you can also define the thickness at which the condition of the belt becomes critical, and also a thickness at which preventative maintenance measures will be triggered. And in the next fields, we can define what kind of maintenance order should be created at each level of thickness. So if the belt is at the minimum extreme, 2 inches thick, a maintenance order to replace the belt will be created. And if it's at the preventative maintenance level, then as you can see, a different maintenance order will be created using the belt maintenance template. On that note, let's move on to take a look at maintenance order templates. As per standard SAP Business One procedure, we can open the maintenance order template using the golden arrows. And if we just open this belt replacement maintenance order template for the belt replacement, you can see that the work is divided into tasks and checkpoints. So this is just a way of breaking down maintenance work into steps so that you can track and record completed work properly. Although we just have the one task here, you can have as many tasks as you want, and each task can be comprised of as many checkpoints as you want. So here we have 3 checkpoints which have to be carried out for this maintenance order. And then of course we have the materials consumed by the maintenance order in the next tab. Oh, and the stock levels for those items, they can be managed with the MRP features in SAP Business One and CompuTec ProcessForce 2, by the way. And in the next tab, we have the necessary tools. Of course, if our belt is a bit thicker, if it still doesn't need replaced, then the maintenance order that would be generated would be based on a different template. And we can see this belt maintenance template by clicking on the golden arrow in the same way as before. And we can see that this is a much simpler maintenance order. We have a simpler procedure, less steps. So this can be used in a very simple way, but it can also be used for very complex maintenance work too. So here we saw one way in which maintenance orders can be created based on inspection results, but you can also have the system create maintenance orders automatically based on time. And of course, you can also do it manually as well, which may have to do in the case of a breakdown or when something unexpected comes up. I'm now just going to go back to our maintainable item for a moment to show you some interesting features that we have there. Now, we also created a CompuTec App Engine plugin, which you can have installed. It's called Maintainable Item 360. It is optional, but it is included in CompuTec ProcessForce Professional and Limited Logistics licenses. Once you have it installed, you can right-click to bring up the context menu on any maintainable item. So here I am on production line 1, and if I click on MI 360, here you get a list of all the elements in the structure of this maintainable item. And by clicking on any one of them, this will take you to this graph, which shows you the relationships between all the various components. And as you can see here, this can be really quite extensive. The elements on the chart are color coded, so you can see what each node color means here. And by clicking on the nodes, the relationship that that node has with other nodes will be highlighted. So even if you have a very complex setup, this chart makes it really simple to manage and see what's going on. You can also navigate back to the maintainable item in SAP Business One by clicking on the golden arrows. You can use these icons here to do various things. With the top icon, you can hide parts of the chart that you're not interested in. So you can focus on the bits that you see better. The second icon will bring up the relevant effective meters. And this third one on the bottom displays maintenance orders related to this maintainable item. You can also get directly to this graph by right-clicking on the maintainable item and then MI graph on the context menu. This doesn't give you the ability to choose from the related items as your base node. The maintainable item that you open the graph from will be the base node when the graph opens up automatically. From here, you can also open up the Maintainable Item structure report, which shows all the related maintainable items and their parents. Then there is the maintenance orders report that shows all maintenance orders for this maintainable item. So that's historical maintenance orders as well as current ones. And then we have the preventative maintenance schedule reports for this maintainable item. So it's a list of preventative maintenance orders that are currently in the schedule. So that's a brief overview of how maintainable items work. We talked a bit about maintenance order templates. So now let's move on to look at maintenance orders themselves. As a basis for your maintenance orders, you can create all the definitions and templates in the work setup and inspection setup sections. So you'll create your list of materials needed for maintenance. You can create templates for checkpoints and tasks. And of course, you can duplicate these and make small changes if you have a number of similar checkpoints. But for the sake of time, I won't look too deeply into that here. We'll head straight on to look at a maintenance order, and here is one that we made earlier. So here we have the maintenance order template that we're using, and of course, then we have the maintainable item that the maintenance order is for. Over on the right, you can see that we can choose from a number of maintenance order types. There are a number of statuses to choose from. You can give the maintenance order a priority level. You can also give them a class and a category. Those will be things that you've set up earlier depending on your maintenance needs. Depending on the template that you're using, you might have some of the scheduling information filled in already, or of course you can enter that manually as well. If you have the information filled in at the top, the parent MI code and name, these will be added here automatically by the system. In the next tab, we have our tasks and checklist for each task. So the procedures required for this maintenance order. We already looked at the materials and tools tabs on the maintenance order template, so those are just the same here. But something I didn't mention then was child maintenance orders. We do support parent and child maintenance orders, and you can set those up so that the parent maintenance order cannot be closed until all its child maintenance orders have been closed. So when you've got this all set up and you've updated the status of the maintenance order to started or released, you can then record data about the maintenance procedures being carried out. By right-clicking, you can select Issue to Maintenance from the context menu, and this will open up a pick order document for the materials needed to carry out this maintenance work, and you can release those materials to the maintenance team. So here we have our conveyor again, and in the checkpoints, we have to check 2 of the belts for thickness. So I'll just go to one of these, and if I right click on it, I'm going to choose maintenance recording. This brings up the maintenance recording form, and here we can enter the value that we observed when we carried out the procedure. This is where we enter the value, so I'm just going to enter 2.5. And when I do that, you'll see that down here there is some information about a maintenance order template. What maintenance order template appears here will depend entirely upon what we set up earlier on the maintainable item form. So in this case, when the belt is 2.5 inches thick, we have to replace the belt. You can also change that maintenance order template for another one manually if you want to though. And now if you then check this follow-up checkbox, a maintenance order based on that template will be created in the system automatically. So this is how our preventative maintenance works, and the information that we set up earlier on the maintainable item form that comes into play here. So if I save and close this window, you can now see that this process is marked as done on our checklist. And also we can see that we now have a new maintenance order for the belt replacement in the system. There's another important feature here that I'll just show you quickly. That's this release maintenance orders. And basically here, using the filters at the top, you can get a list of maintenance orders, and then you can change the status of multiple maintenance orders at the same time. And the last thing that I'd like to show you is the preventative maintenance schedule. And here you can define whether your preventative maintenance order should be based on elapsed time or meter values. You can expedite maintenance work that you want to be carried out sooner than it normally would be. There's a checkbox over here. If you leave it unchecked, the maintenance orders will be created in the system automatically when the time or meter based criteria is fulfilled. If you check it, then you'll have to create the maintenance orders manually. And if you are doing so, you might also want to check the next checkbox, which means that the time and meter rules do not apply. So what I've just shown you is a very brief run through of what we currently have available in the newest versions of CompuTec ProcessForce. And these features are available to you now, but we haven't finished with plant maintenance just quite yet. As I mentioned earlier, we have plans for 2 further development phases. Phase 2 will include predictive maintenance. We'll also be adding costing improvements. We'll be adding Gantt chart scheduling for maintenance orders and downtime in relation to manufacturing order scheduling, as well as CompuTec PDC conclusion. And then the next step after that will be a mobile app. So then your machinery and equipment, you'll be able to look after it directly from the shop floor. At the moment, we are planning to make it possible to request maintenance, review maintenance orders, assign maintenance tasks, and record maintenance processes, timings, and meter readings from the app. So thank you very much for your attention during this video and your interest in our plant maintenance module. If you do have some questions about what you've seen here, how these features could be used in your company, or about what we're doing next, please do let us or your CompuTec partner know. We'll be more than happy to help.